Watch movies by zombies, walk the streets and it's work. It's like y'all worship inflation, let it live and it hurts. Israel copping oil, stolen by ISIS. Hypocrites and leaderships are honeycomb closets where my angels.
That would be a terrible mistake. You're not coming looking for separatists and saying you're not looking for me and the Nation of Islam. Muslims, do you know that we are the only thing that stands in between their wicked plan of the demasculization of the black man? The only thing that stands between that is the Nation of Islam. Rothschild claimed to be Jewish. Not the nationality of a Jew, but Jew in terms of belief in God and a follower of divine revelation. But was Mr. Rothschild a moral man? Here's a man that had 5 sons, and he sent his 5 sons into 5 countries. 1 son went to England, 1 son to France, 1 to Austria, 1 to Italy, and another remained in Germany with the father. And from these sons and the money that these sons had, they worked and maneuvered and manipulated until they gained control of the central banks of England, France, Austria, Italy, and Germany. They would loan money to both sides in the conflict because they really didn't care who won or who lost. I mean, it's hurtful, but a Jew, Rothschild, loaned money to Adolf Hitler. A Jew, Rothschild. God damn it, you better not open your mouth to call me no anti-Semite. Rothschild and Paul Warburg loaned money to Hitler. Hitler killed little Jews, while Rothschild and Warburg stayed in the finest hotels in Europe. But damn it, if you can't call Rothschild anti-Semitic and Warburg an anti-Semite, then don't you open your mouth against me. And I have not failed you in warning you of what the government of the United States of America has been planning against black people generally, but black youth in particular, and the Nation of Islam. Now, you may not have been listening, but you're going to listen today, because we're at the end of this now. I had to think about this. Reagan met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, okay, in early September. Wow. But I don't know who the war is against. He didn't say. That was for me to study. But the formula was so deep. Did you know that after 9/11, Wesley Clark, a general, talked about seeing a memo 10 years earlier out of the Pentagon? I want you to listen carefully. They were going to take down 7 Muslim countries in 5 years, ending with a war on Iran. So the spring came, and you saw like dominoes members of the Muslim world fallen. But when 9/11 took place, which we challenged the government's interpretation of 9/11. It's a false flag operation. So now the ball is in the court of Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, you met with your Joint Chiefs of Staff in August and in early September. You had your generals at Camp David. They weren't talking about taxes. You don't use generals to talk about taxes. You were planning a war, sir. George W. Bush, after 9/11, said he was going to divide the Muslims against themselves. Now a 1,400-year dispute between Shia and Sunni is about to take into a war. President Trump went to Saudi Arabia and called 50 Sunni nations through the king of Saudi Arabia. And instead of inviting Muslims to sit with Muslims to find out what's the point of contention and bringing peace about, he took those Sunni nations, yes you did, Mr. Trump, and you aimed their anger against Tehran and the Shia nation. You're going to have to deal with either the thought that's in your mind that will destroy America and her future, because once the trigger of war is pulled, it will escalate. Now, I'm going to tell you what my teacher told me. You have planned a war. The war that you have planned, you and your generals, is to the Middle East. You want to use the Sunni at the prodding of Israel to attack Iran. Just like you did with my brother Gaddafi. You laid back, leading from behind. You in Syria now. Boy, this is rough. And Mrs. Clinton, she encouraged you to give the go-ahead to kill Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi had come in out of the cold. Gaddafi gave up all his weapons of mass destruction. And Bush used to be so proud to say, Gaddafi got the message. He's come in. And then under Barack, Hillary Clinton imposed her will. And they murdered Muammar Gaddafi. And the killing of Muammar Gaddafi wrapped a ribbon around Kim Jong-un. And it was given to you as a gift. You will never get North Korea to give up what she has as a trump card. But you don't want China, not yet. And you don't want Kim Jong-un yet. But you're looking for a softer target, and you think that's Iran. Wrong. Wrong. If you permit Israel to push Saudi and the Sunnis into war with the Shiites, I want to say this to the Muslim world. See, you are so blinded that you think with America's backing you can win. Wrong. You're a Muslim. If you got the backing of Allah, you can win. But you don't have that backing. Not as an aggressor. Pakistan is sitting there with nuclear weapons. I noticed, Mr. Trump, he didn't mention Pakistan. Although at the United Nations, you did mention Iran, you mentioned Venezuela, you mentioned Cuba, and you mentioned Kim Jong-un. They're going to be in a war soon. And if Mr. Trump listens to Netanyahu, they want to use you to fight America's war, but it's not America's war, it's Israel's war. And when you say, Mr. Trump, America first, ask any Jew, even your son-in-law. America is never first. Israel is always first. And as long as Israel is first,